I've lived alone for almost 2 years, and I used to think I was safe. My neighborhood wasn't fancy, but it was quiet. The kind of place where neighbors waved when you walked past, and kids rode bikes in the evenings. I never locked my doors at night, didn't worry much about who walked past. I felt invisible until that night. It was a Tuesday. I remember the date because it was unremarkable. I had just gotten home from work, dragging my tired body up the stairs to my apartment. I tossed my bag on the couch, kicked off my shoes, and heated some leftovers. The TV was playing quietly in the background, some sitcom I barely noticed. I sank into the chair, letting myself relax. Nothing felt wrong. Then I heard it, a soft, dragging sound outside my window. Slow, deliberate footsteps. At first, I thought it was just a neighbor, maybe walking their dog, but there was something in the rhythm, too calculated, too patient. It wasn't just someone walking past, it was someone waiting, watching. My heart started thumping harder, louder than anything I'd ever heard inside my own chest. I froze, straining to hear every tiny movement. My apartment suddenly felt enormous, empty, echoing with the tiniest creak. I could hear the fridge humming. The walls felt close. The air felt heavier. I slowly rose from my chair, trying not to make a sound. The footsteps stopped. Silence, only the hum of the street outside. Then, a shadow moved across my curtains. I froze. My mind screamed, "It's nothing. You're imagining it. It's the wind. Maybe a cat. Just ignore it." But the shadow moved again. My pulse raced. I crept toward the window, barely breathing. Peering through the blinds, I finally saw him. A man, tall, hooded, pressed against the wall outside. Not moving much, just standing, waiting. His face was mostly hidden, but I could see the glint of his eyes catching the faint streetlight. They weren't wandering eyes, they were focused, calculating. I stumbled back, my knees weak, my chest heaving. I reached for my phone, trembling as I considered calling someone. Then I heard it. My front door handle wiggled. Soft, tentative, testing. I froze. Nobody should be touching my door. I lived alone. I had no visitors. My breath caught in my throat. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I crept silently toward the pee hole. My apartment felt like it had transformed. Shadows were deeper. The air seemed colder. Every floorboard groaned under my weight. And then I saw him. A second man, shorter, backpack slung over his shoulder, ear pressed against the door, listening. 2 people, coordinated, patient, dangerous. I backed away and grabbed the only weapon I had, a kitchen knife I barely remembered sharpening. The metal felt heavy in my hand, cold against my palm. My phone buzzed. A message from my neighbor upstairs. "Are you home?" "Yes," I typed. "Why?" "2 guys are walking around your building. They were looking into my window earlier." I swallowed hard. 3 slow knocks on the door followed. Silence, then louder knocks, and a voice. Calm, low, persuasive. "We know you're in there. Open the door." I froze. They weren't playing anymore. I whispered to the police, explaining everything. They promised officers were on the way. Meanwhile, I couldn't tear my eyes from the window. The tall man had moved into the yard, standing directly in the pale circle of streetlight. He tilted his head slightly, almost smiling, patient, confident, dominant. The shorter one's voice floated again. "Police are slow here. You know that, right?" Minutes stretched into eternity. I crept back to the window, watching their every move. Every rustle of leaves made my heart jump. Every shadow looked like it was moving toward me. I felt trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Then sirens. Relief surged through me, but not for long. The men bolted, disappearing into the dark before the police even arrived. Officers took my statement, asked questions, nodded politely. But their frustration was obvious. They had arrived just a second too late. I barely slept that night. Every sound, every shadow made me jump. The house felt alive, alert. Every floorboard creak echoed like footsteps. Every gust of wind against the windows felt like a warning. 3 days later, a folded piece of paper appeared on my porch. No tape, no weight, just lying there. I opened it with shaking hands. 4 words: "We'll try again soon." I couldn't stop trembling. My mind raced. Who were they? Why me? Were they professional? Were they insane? Were they watching right now? Seeing my reaction? I moved within a month. Cameras, alarms, motion sensors, locked doors, pee holes, double checks. But the fear never left. Even in my new apartment, I flinch at shadows. I check every hallway, every creak. Every knock makes my stomach drop. Because that night taught me a terrifying truth. Safety is fragile. One quiet night, one patient pair of strangers, and your sense of safety can vanish like smoke. Even now, I hear faint footsteps outside doors, in hallways, or on streets. My mind instantly jumps back to that night, imagining them watching, waiting, patient, ready.
I moved into my apartment complex right after college. It was affordable, and the location was perfect, close to work, close to groceries, and quiet enough that I could actually sleep at night. I never imagined that my next-door neighbor would become the reason I lost that sense of comfort. It started subtly. At first, it was small things. My neighbor, a man in his 40s who lived alone, would stand in the hallway and stare. Not just glances, he would linger, silently watching as I walked past my door. Sometimes, when I came home late, I'd find him outside my apartment, leaning casually against the wall, pretending to read something while clearly keeping an eye on me. I tried to ignore it, telling myself I was overreacting. Then the incidents escalated. I began noticing signs that he was inside the building when he shouldn't have been. One night, I returned from work around 11 p.m., keys in hand, and the hallway light was flickering as if someone had tampered with it. I paused, listening, and heard faint shuffling just outside my door. My heart rate shot up. I knocked lightly on my neighbor's door. No answer. I started locking my door more carefully, double-checking deadbolts, and even keeping a chair wedged against it. But that didn't stop him. One morning, I found a note slipped under my door. Just a single line, written in careful, almost neat handwriting. "I saw you last night. You looked tired." I froze. My stomach turned. I lived alone. I hadn't told anyone my schedule. Nobody should have known I was home that night. The stalking continued. Lights flickering outside my window at odd hours. Random footsteps in the hallway. I even heard my name whispered once, softly, as if someone was testing me. I tried to report it to the building management. They called him quiet and polite and refused to take it seriously. I started documenting everything, taking photos of him when possible, keeping notes of times and dates. But every time I thought I had proof, he disappeared before I could show anyone. It was like he knew I was watching. Then came the night that changed everything. I was home alone as usual. The sun had set hours ago. I had just settled into bed when I heard the softest sound, tapping on my window. I froze. My bedroom was on the second floor. No one should be outside. I crept to the window, careful not to make a sound. There he was, standing on a ladder I hadn't noticed before, peering into my room. His face was partially covered by shadows, but his eyes, I could see them, focused, calm, waiting. I slammed the blinds shut and called the police. By the time they arrived, he was gone, and the ladder had disappeared, leaving no trace. The officers asked questions, but without the ladder or any fingerprints, they couldn't do much. Things escalated further over the next few weeks. Packages moved, things in my apartment slightly rearranged when I returned from work. I began to notice tiny scratches near my doorframe, as if someone had tried to pick the lock. Every creak, every bump, every shadow made me jump. The most terrifying moment came one Friday night. I had stayed late at work and returned home exhausted, ready to sleep. I walked into my apartment and found my bedroom door ajar. My heart stopped. I knew I had locked it before leaving. Inside, the room was untouched, or so it seemed. But on my bed, neatly folded, was a single sock, just one, clean, lying in the center of the mattress. I never left a sock out. I called the police immediately, but again, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing. After that night, I knew I couldn't stay. I packed my things and moved, choosing a building with stricter security and no access to neighbors without keycards. I tried to leave the past behind, but I never truly felt safe. Even years later, I sometimes check the corners of my hotel rooms or the spaces outside my windows when I travel. I glance at strangers in the hallways longer than I should. Because what I learned is that some people are obsessed. Some people watch, wait, and know exactly how to terrorize without ever being caught. I still think about him sometimes. Did he leave my life behind when I moved? Or is he still out there, waiting for the next person to notice him? I'll never know. But I do know this: living next to a stranger doesn't mean living safely. And sometimes, the creep you ignore is the one who notices you the most.
I had just started my new job at the warehouse. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough, and I needed money while figuring out my next move. The night shift seemed perfect, quiet, peaceful, alone with my thoughts. Or so I thought. The first week was uneventful. I walked through the endless aisles, scanning boxes, logging inventory. The warehouse was huge, with towering metal shelves stretching as far as the eye could see. Every footstep echoed, bouncing off walls, making the emptiness feel alive. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead, cold, harsh, uninviting. I joked to myself about the ghost aisle, the stretch of shelves that always seemed darker than the rest. I laughed, but a small knot of unease lingered in my stomach. Then, the little things started. It was subtle at first. Boxes that had been stacked perfectly would be slightly off when I returned. Tools would be moved an inch or two. Nothing major, nothing threatening, just enough to make me pause and glance over my shoulder. I told myself it was fatigue. I told myself the cleaning crew or other workers had been careless. But deep down, my stomach told me it wasn't that simple. The real fear began on my third week. I was walking down aisle 7, scanner in hand, checking barcodes. The lights flickered. Just once, but it made the shadows stretch across the floor like long black fingers. And then I heard it. A soft shuffle. Behind me, slow, deliberate. I froze mid-step. My heart thumped so loudly I was certain whoever or whatever was there could hear it. I spun around, empty aisle. Nothing. The boxes stood in perfect, silent rows. My pulse raced. I told myself it was my imagination. You're tired. Focus. Just keep scanning. But then the whisper came. Faint, almost impossible to hear. My own name. Alex? I spun around. Nothing. Just shadows, stretching, twisting in the fluorescent lights. My palms were clammy. My legs felt like lead. I gripped a metal rod I had brought, my only weapon, and moved slowly, listening. Every breath sounded like a shout in the emptiness. Over the next few nights, it got worse. Footsteps echoed behind me. Sometimes stopping when I turned. Boxes shifted in the aisles. Shadows moved in ways that didn't make sense. The hum of the fluorescent lights sounded different, darker, heavier, almost like a low growl in the distance. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Unknown number. I didn't answer. My stomach twisted. Whoever or whatever was there knew I was alone, knew I was trapped. One night, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. I was scanning boxes in aisle 12 when I realized a large crate had been flipped upside down. Its contents spilled slightly, even though I hadn't touched it. My chest tightened. I turned slowly, heart hammering. Shadows shifted in my peripheral vision. Cold air brushed my neck. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the scanner. I told myself to calm down. It's nothing, just your imagination. But then I heard the whisper again. Why are you here? Closer this time, clearer, low, guttural. Impossible to ignore. I dropped the scanner. The metal rod clattered to the floor. My legs wobbled. I could feel something moving in the shadows, following me, stalking me. Every instinct screamed to run, but my mind froze. The warehouse felt alive, breathing around me, closing in. I ran. My footsteps echoed. Boxes fell around me. Shadows flickered in the corners of my eyes, slipping closer with every step. I darted down the aisles, twisting and turning, but the darkness seemed to anticipate me. Every turn I made, it was there, watching, waiting. I finally reached the security office at the far end. The faint glow of a monitor showed the security guard had left. I pounded on the door. No response. The door was locked from the inside. I was alone. Desperation hit. I ran back towards the main exit. Shadows darted between the shelves, shifting, twisting, almost humanoid. Boxes fell, making loud crashes that echoed through the empty warehouse. My heart raced. My breathing was shallow. Cold sweat ran down my back. I could feel it. Something. Waiting. Just beyond the light. Just beyond reach. The exit doors loomed ahead. I lunged towards them. This time they opened. I didn't stop running until I was outside, gasping for air, my hands shaking, my chest burning. The cold night air was sharp against my skin. I looked back. The warehouse loomed silently, empty, still. But I knew it wasn't empty. Not really. The next day, I tried telling my manager. He dismissed it. Night shift can make your mind play tricks. You're probably just tired. I laughed nervously, but I didn't believe him. I knew what I had seen. I knew what I had heard. Other workers started noticing strange things too. Boxes shifted, shadows moved, whispers floated through empty aisles. Everyone laughed it off. But we all felt it. That oppressive sense of being watched, followed, hunted. The final night pushed me over the edge. Around 3 a.m., I was walking alone. The lights flickered violently. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the aisles. I heard it again. My name whispered close, almost directly in my ear. "Why are you here?" I spun. Empty aisle, nothing. But the fear remained. Every box, every shelf, every shadow seemed alive. My own heartbeat sounded like a drum of warning. I grabbed my metal rod and ran. I didn't stop until I was outside, shivering, gasping, certain that I had been followed, certain that the warehouse itself had eyes and a voice. I quit the night shift immediately. Never went back. Never will. Even now when I drive past warehouses late at night, I feel it. Shadows stretching, moving just beyond the lights. Whispers echoing in the empty spaces. And if you are foolish enough to be there alone, you may not just feel fear, you may live it, breathe it, and carry it with you forever.